Let's talk top 10. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and today I've got for you my top 10 favorite books I read in 2021, excluding Stephen King. He's going to get his own list. Make sure you guys let me know what your favorite books are down in the comments. We will have these linked down below as well. And yeah, pretty good list. We're towards the end of the year and it's time for list season. So for this first one, we're going to do the top 10, and then I think I'm going to end up doing a list of like the ones that just missed the cut, and then I'll do like least favorite. So something like that. Those will be the next two. And then King mixed in there. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started. Alright, starting off with number 10 is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. So this list is compiled of just books I've read in this year. It's not necessarily books that were released this year, as you will notice with some of these. So this is the Grady Hendrix book that I have on this list. It's also a vampire book. It's really good. It's about this lady named Patricia who's in this book club, this book group, and this strange man just he moves into the town, and he seems really weird and really sus, and nobody believes this woman, and it's like kind of aggravating to hear for the first part of the book. It picks up though, and it's actually a really solid story. I ended up giving this 5 stars. Most of these are 5 stars. We did this in the Grady Hendrix book review, or like an evaluation or whatever it was. We'll have that linked up here if you want to check that video out, where I just kind of talk about all the Hendrix books that I've read, which is most of them. But yeah, number 10, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Alright, in 9th place is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. So this is another top author for me, and I've loved most of what he has written. Couple of bad, couple of good. I think this is another person where we did like an analysis on the author. If you want to check out that video, we'll put it up top here or put it in the description. But yeah, this book, let me read the blurb. It's November 1991. Nirvana's in the tape deck. George H.W. Bush is in the White House. And movie-obsessed college student Charlie Jordan is in a car with a man who might be a serial killer. This is a book that I think is, you either hate it or you love it. I absolutely loved it. Danielle actually did not like this book. A lot of it has to do, I think, with like the twist towards the end. But I honestly just really thought it was a really cool book. It was a good thriller, and it was just a phenomenal book. I would say it's one of Riley Sager's top of books that I've read. So, 9th place, Survive the Night, Riley Sager. Alright, next one up in 8th place is The Shuttering by Anya Alborn. So this was a year where I read a lot of Anya Alborn. There's actually one more on this list, I think. I think it's just one more. Yeah, there's one more on this list from her. This one is really solid. Obviously, it's my second favorite Anya Alborn as opposed to the other one here. She is a really big surprise author for me. I might end up doing an analysis video on her as well as Darcy Coates soon. I got a few more Coates I need to read, though, which she's not on this list. No offense to her. There's, great author, but it's got a couple other ones here. But this one is they only come when it snows and nobody ever gets away. So by what I remember with this one, because I read this early in the year, it's like a group of college friends go to this cabin and these weird things out in the woods kind of start attacking them. And what hooked me with this book was the twist ending. The twist ending was phenomenal. And a lot of people I feel like would not like it, but it's one of those like, I can't even say it because it's just going to spoil the book. But it is such an amazing twist at the end. I absolutely loved it. It was so cool. And I just love this book. Even the characters were really cool. Like I think there's 4 of them. There's like 4 or 5. I think it's 2 dudes and two girls. But yeah, really cool book. Absolutely loved it. The Shuttering, Anya Alborn. Alright, in 7th place is Near the Bone by Christina Henry. So this was a book I got on a whim. I read the back of it. Sounded really intriguing to me. And I had heard some good things with her book that she wrote called Ghost Tree, or The Ghost Tree or something like that, which I have not read that one yet. I need to. So this one is about a woman who is up in I don't remember the actual like location, but it's up in like the woods and there's a bunch of snow, so it's like in a wintry area, and there's like this weird creature that's like going around, kind of like how the Shuttering is, but it's you're following the perspective of one woman, and she's married to this guy who's kind of a douche, and all this stuff happens in this book. They stumble across like these group of like these group of hunters, and when the truth gets revealed about what happens with this book, it's another book that like the twist put it in this list. It's a 5-star book. It's really good. I will say it depends on your view, but I honestly, this is one of those ones where like you got to be on her side because like there's just no other way for you to like be. So 5-star book, Near the Bone, Christina Henry. All right, the next one up is actually one of Danielle Thriller picks from earlier in the year. It's also a book of the month, and that is Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. So this book, if you've seen the movie Knives Out, it's pretty darn close. All right, so there's one brother and there's 2 sisters, and you're kind of I mean, it's not like you're following one perspective. I think there's many perspectives you end up going through in this book. The twist, again, phenomenal. And it's like one of those whodunits, and you're following it through all the way to the end of the book, and it's a really solid book. I absolutely loved it. So it starts out with the 2 parents get murdered at the beginning of the book, and you're pretty much just trying to figure out who did it, because there's like an inheritance, there's all this stuff that's a factor, and so everyone's like, all right, well, he probably did it for the money. Well, no, she did it for the house. No, he did it. So there's all these things that are going on, and it makes this book really great. So I absolutely love this. 6th place, Sherry Lapina, Not a Happy Family. All right, top 5 territory now. In 5th place, we've got Brother by Anya Alborn. This is actually one of the first books I read this year, and this was actually the first book by Anya Alborn I read, and this hooked me on her. It was just, wow. It was such a good book. There's so many twists, and it's just so good. Pretty much you're following this guy who's part of this like kind of like weird demented kind of family, and one of the brothers is always like pushing this guy to like murder people, and they have like this business that they do, and this guy's just kind of just trying to live his life, and he's trying to there's one point there's like a love interest where he's trying to be with this one girl, and again another one of those books where the twist at the end was just great. It was phenomenal. I am a little upset with one thing that happened at the end of the book, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, obviously, because it's the end of the book. But this book was really solid, and it actually gets going pretty quick, and it keeps going throughout the entire book. So I couldn't put it down. So there you have in 5th place, Brother. All right, in 4th place, we have got The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. So this book is what I would consider, if somebody were to, I wouldn't say perfectly rewrite Pet Sematary, but come kind of close to it, I would say The Winter People is pretty close. Is that a bold statement? Yes. Have other people said that exact same statement? Also yes. So this, you're pretty much, there's 2 time periods you're following. There's one where you're following a family and a little girl like way back in the day, and she's like told never to go outside like during the winter because of like getting lost and stuff like that. And then there's the current time period where you're following this family who inherits this house, and a lot of weird stuff happens. Like weird mysterious things kind of start happening in the house, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, why that is, and then you time jump back to the little girl, and the ending is phenomenal. The reason why I bring up Pet Sematary is because of the ending. When you find out what happens, it's good. This was, as soon as I read this, I honestly didn't think anything was going to beat this for a non-Stephen King book, which I have more thoughts on this book when I did the reading vlog, which I did with One by One by Ruth Ware and Dreamcatcher by Stephen King, which that was a winter reading vlog at like the beginning of the year. So check out that video up here if you want to check that out, where I have more thoughts on this. But yeah, really good book, The Winter People, Jennifer McMahon. All right, we're in top 3 territory. Honestly, this top 3 was something that was like really hard to pick. Well, not hard to pick, but like where to position them at. Basically, it was like my top 3 Stephen King books of all time. Pet Sematary, It, Shining. But I ended up coming up with an order, obviously, because I needed to. And in third place, The Plot by Gene Hemp Corlitz. I still have no idea if I'm saying that correctly, so I apologize, Gene. This book took me off guard, like, way more than I thought it was going to. There's another one in here that, like, completely shocked me. This book is actually one that Danielle had recommended because of what other people have said about it. I read it, gave it 5 stars, and I begged her to read it next, and she gave it 5 stars. The one thing that I ranted a lot about is people said this was kind of like Secret Window, Secret Garden by Stephen King. It's totally not. Completely not. Not at all. So don't buy into that. So this book has got lots of twists. It's got lots of turns. It's pretty much you're following like a teacher. I think it's at a university, and he's in the process of like trying to write a book. He's made like one really good book, and like he's got nothing coming up after that. At the beginning of the book, he's dealing with like this douchey student who like they go over like the start of one of his books, and the teacher's like, "Holy crap, this is really good." And then something happens to the student where he dies, and the book pretty much takes over from there. So it's not like a book within a book, but it's a book about a guy writing a book that's in this book. Bookception. But it's really solid. I absolutely loved it. I honestly would put this probably in my top 5 non-King books of all time. Honestly. So there you have The Plot. All right. Top 2. This was hard to put in order. But in second place, we have got The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris. So, sorry for the bad reflection here. I'm going to try and hold it at an angle where it's not, like, weird. But it's all weird. So, this book, obviously, is what inspired the movie. It is such a good book. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. The movie's phenomenal. And in the video, I actually kept calling him Buffalo Bill. I kept calling him Wild Bill for some stupid reason. It actually took my dad to point it out to me. I thought it was hilarious. I didn't notice it at first. But Buffalo Bill's character is so like psychotic and weird. Hannibal Lecter is just a absolutely terrifying type of person. Which I gotta read the other books too, because a lot of people said Red Dragon is really solid. And Clarice Sterling is just a great character herself. She's really cool. You know, I just love this book. It was so solid. It's one that I actually would like to reread. I mean, these top 3 I would reread in a heartbeat. Most of these I'd reread in a heartbeat. But this book was just so good. And again, sorry for looking at this now and the angle is kind of weird. I'm like trying to avoid like a glare or like reflection, whatever. Really solid book. 5 stars. Second place, Silence of the Lambs. All right. We're down to the top dog, the best book of 2021 that I read. Not by Stephen King. And this was probably the biggest surprise book ever because it's a genre that I've never read not like thoroughly read during my booktube career. I have read science fiction before. But this book caught me way off guard. And that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book, it hits all the feels. It's just so good. And it's like such a heartwarming ending too. It's like it's got everything. Like I honestly want to start rereading this now. There's a lot of like scientific stuff, lots of numbers and stuff because obviously they're in a spaceship, and you know this guy wakes up and he's like trying to remember who he is, why he's at where he's at. So you're kind of jumping back and forth from when he's on Earth before he leaves and when he's in space trying to figure out what the heck's going on. The reason why he's going to space is I think something's going on with the sun where it's getting hotter and hotter. And they have, there's like some scientific term where they have to go up there and do something to the sun to like cool it off or something like that. And it all doesn't really go too well. And he stumbles across something that I think is one of the best characters of all time in a book. So there you have it. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yes, such a good book. I loved it. Like I said, it hits all the feels. You feel happy, you feel sad. Like, there's times when you're mad. I was confused with all the scientific stuff sometimes, but it's whatever. But this book was so good. And everybody kept saying I needed to read The Martian. I didn't read it yet. But this was so good. I couldn't even shut up about this book. You can ask Danielle. As soon as I finished this, I was just like, dude, oh, this is so good. So, top non-Stephen King book of 2021, Project Hail Mary, Andy Weir. Alright guys, so those are my top 10 books of 2021, my all-time favorites of the year. Again, we will have these linked down below if you're intrigued with any of them. Make sure you guys let me know what your favorites of 2021 were. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next list video. Later.